I wanted to find a place to sit down and talk to all of you, but the uh, the landscape is a bit hostile here in Arizona. Between the fire ants, the scorpions, the snakes, and all the pokey plants, it's not exactly ideal. I'd love to though, because I want to sit down and talk to you guys for a little while. Yeah, so I've learned to love this place. Not even learn. I just kind of fell in love with it. When I first got here to Arizona, um, the environment seemed to demand something from me. And that made me uncomfortable at first because it was dry and the smells were so foreign. It was unlike anything I had ever dealt with my entire life. And I've been to quite a few places. This place was foreign and alien in strange ways that um, I didn't expect. But also, it was beautiful in ways I would have never expected either. You think of places like Arizona, the whole Southwest. You think of these desert places where it just goes on forever. Like, there's a rabbit right there. You can probably see it. There he goes, just walking through the front yard. Um, I just saw a butterfly earlier. I think it might have been a monarch. So there's this beauty that kind of comes from out of nowhere, out of left field. As you can see, these aren't desert trees. These are temperate trees. And so there's a lot of desert here, but then there's these oases that just are scattered throughout the landscape. Did you know Arizona is like the most diverse state for ecology? It has the most plants and animals out of any state. So you have these desert areas, but then you have these beautiful temperate zones that make you feel like you're in the Northeast. And we get tons of snow. You might not have expected that from Arizona, but we get tons of snow. Not everywhere, but I mean, an hour drive from here, you might be driving into a snowstorm that's going to drop 10 feet of snow. So there's that. Right down here at the edge of the yard, there's a creek or a river or a stream, and more beautiful trees that you would expect to see in like the southeast or the northeast. And so there's these little beautiful spots hidden and tucked away here. And I was just thinking the other day uh, how much I've changed and how much this place has changed for me. Since I first got here, it feels like home. It feels like a home more than anything ever has. You know, and I spent most of my life in upstate New York, some of my life in California, and then the rest of my life in places all over the country. And something called to me to be here some time ago. Um, Once I left New York for good, I just kept moving west, sort of unconsciously, like it was something was pulling me here. And there was this little whisper in the back of my head that this is the place I would end up. And the whisper became louder and louder until it was a powerful voice front and center of my consciousness. This is the place that I needed to end up at this time. And here I am. And I was just in a spaces the other day. The guy named Derek, you might know him if you're on X. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I think it's Bros, Broes. Cool guy. But he was also talking about how more and more people are telling the story of this sort of urge and calling to come to Arizona. And I have my particular beliefs about why that is, but the last time I tried to talk about it, my phone went completely haywire and they wouldn't let me post the video. So I think that the things that I believe or know about Arizona and why it's important might be things they don't want you guys to know, but we've talked about them before. And I would just say do some homework on the reservations around here, on the stories from the natives about why this place is special. Look at the Edgar Casey flood map. You might find some interesting things in there. So, anyways, I felt a deep calling to be here. And since I've gotten here, I've undergone a sort of incubation. I've been in an incubation period with my consciousness, with my relationship with the world, and with the internet, and with people. And more, I'm sort of being forced into this very narrow path. The reason I'm making this video is because I have no other choice but to take a leap that I've known I would have to take for almost 2 decades. It's been something weighing heavy on my heart and my mind that I would have to dive into the deep of what is. In the last 5 years, I've sort of dedicated my life to teaching all of you how to do it too. And part of that was, I think, a sincere desire to help other people to transcend what's happening now, transcend the hang-ups within themselves, their darkness, their fear, their ego. But part of it was because I was dragging my feet because I didn't want to do it alone. I wanted other people to come with me. I wanted someone to share the experience with, someone to look over and be like, we're good, right? But you see, that's not how it works. The crucifixion on the cross, metaphorically speaking, the crucifixion on the rosy cross, the light body transformation, as it were. That experience, that adventure has to be one taken by yourself. You have to do it alone, or it defeats the purpose, which is to conquer fear. And you can't truly conquer fear unless you're doing it on your own and you're not getting any help. So I'm making preparations to make that final journey, whatever that looks like. I've started back up on the pranayama meditations and the workouts, and eating less and getting more of the essential nutrients that I need, drinking more water, spending less time on here, spending less time being hung up or worried or angry or frustrated or nervous about the world and what's happening, and making preparations for the transition. And as that's been happening, all these old memories are rushing in of my past, which feels more like a past life, like a life I lived before this one, as if either that was a dream or what we're doing now is an illusion. But they are two separate things. People I fell in love with, best friends that meant the world to me, cool jobs, strange adventures. It all seems like so far and so long ago, you know? Even the stuff that happened 5 years ago feels as far away as the things that happened when I was a kid. Clearly something has happened to the world to make it feel like that. Because, there's such a juxtaposition of what we're experiencing right now and what life was like before this cultural singularity, let's call it, a spiritual singularity that already occurred. That has got what appears to be a majority of the population seeking to enrage themselves and enrage others, to confuse themselves and confuse others, to completely flip upside down the priorities that they should have. The things people are prioritizing, it's embarrassing for me. to associate with them on a special level. To be like, that's a human being. I'm a human being. The way they're acting is so bad that it makes me look bad as a human being. And so with all these memories of the past and like thinking about like how a conversation would happen or how people would fall in love or go to a party or just anything from the most mundane to the most important, the way we would do those things before whatever advent happened, whether it was the proliferation of the internet, the proliferation of propaganda, some new technology, new type of psyop. There's a quickening, and it's not just the technology. There's a quickening of the degradation of the human mind, both individually and collectively. So I look at what it was like before the quickening occurred and how wholesome it was. I mean, we still did like renegade things and controversial things, but like it was tempered. We still had fun. We still got in trouble. But now it's like people are trying hard to be gross, to be inappropriate. There is such an extreme corruption in the mind and the heart of the human being. And you see, this is at the heart of what's really happening here. We can blame this group and that technology and this government all day. But at the end of the day, none of this stuff could have happened if we retained our mental and emotional integrity, and our spiritual integrity, and our physical integrity even. None of these things could have happened. Those things have to be allowed to happen. Tyranny can only persist if people don't stand up against it. Anything corruptive, anything destructive can only persist in the human world. Any sort of human construct of destruction can only exist if we don't resist it, if we don't stand up to it. So I guess I wanted to spend a little time talking about one of the things that matter, you know? I can't make sense of any of it, really. I don't know how we lost it and how we lost it so quickly. Our convictions, our care for one another, our wits, our sharpness. It's like everyone's dull, clueless, scared. It's like everyone's in freak out mode. But what are they freaking out about? I don't know. But we've lost our foundations. You see, it's really simple to get them back, though. You know, because just sitting down and taking a deep breath and thinking before you speak and speaking before you act goes a long way. Desiring peace for yourself and then identifying all the things in your life that aren't bringing you peace or adding more chaos, and then writing those things down and removing those things. It's not very hard. You could do it right now. You could sit down with a notebook, take a deep breath, and says, I want my life to be generally peaceful. I want to make improvements on the harmonics of my day-to-day. So let me write down the things that put my consciousness in harmony, put the things around me in harmony. And then let me make a list of things that throw my life into chaos. And then you can extrapolate and then make a higher order list of the things that do that to the world, to a large group of people. And then you start dedicating a little time to removing those chaotic things and then endorsing those harmonic things. These are simple practices and tools, but and the issue isn't application. The issue is attention. We pay no attention to the simple things that solve all the problems. So if I could give any advice, first I'd say remember. Remember a time in your life that you were happy and felt at peace and excited and even maybe a little like nervous. You remember feeling like that edge, like, ooh, I'm in a slightly unnerving situation, but it's not bad. It's just uncomfortable and new, and I have to think on my feet. That the visceralness of existence, which stimulates us. Whether it's the visceralness of a little bit of eustress, a little bit of tension, that's probably a good thing for you to enhance the quality of who you are. The visceralness of true love between you and another person, whether that's romantic, familial, friendly, platonic. The visceralness of trying a new skill and being a complete fool in knowing it, but getting to learn all these new things and these new techniques and these new ways of doing things and these new ways of thinking about things. You know, when there's this part in the book A Brave New World where he's like, I don't want comfort, I don't want this, that, and the third. I want fear, I want death, I want God, I want love. Such a powerful thing, you know, because the pretense of the book is this kind of thing where everyone's kind of numbed out, propagandized, and drugged, but everything's safe. You know, by appearances, everything is safe, everything is copacetic, everything is chill, everything kind of runs on the same frequency all the time, very stable. But there's no vibrancy to life, and that's sort of where we're at. There's a lot of chaos. There's, you know, the deep crimson reds thrown across the entire canvas, sure, but where are the greens and the blues and the yellows and the purples? They've been removed. And you know, we've fallen so far, and I don't think many people really appreciate how bad it's gotten. And you can see that because people are operating as if this is somewhat normal and functional reality. Who's like, oh wow, this is crazy, but they still get up every morning and act as if, okay, well, it's just another day. It's not. Like, we're in the dystopia. It's not coming. And that's another really scary and ironic thing. That's why I have that phrase, the apocalypse is always tomorrow. We've been fed this idea that a thing is coming and a thing is coming and a thing is coming, and we can still prepare and but we're already in it. We're already immersed in the totalitarian state. Completely. Anything that happens after this is just a more articulated control system. We're already in the control system. We're already in 1984 and A Brave New World, totally immersed in it. Totally immersed. There's not another thing that has to happen where we can say, okay, we're in it. That's not how it works. And that's, if someone's creating a system like that, lots of you know the frog in boiling water metaphor, where you turn the heat up slowly and the frog doesn't realize it's being cooked until it's too late. The water's already boiling. It's been happening so slowly that we got used to it. We're already in the totalitarian state. The apocalypse already happened. You understand? From that perspective and that level, I'm using apocalypse more metaphorically, not like an actual apocalypse, like a destruction of the planet. It already happened. So the perspective we need to have is that we need to dismantle that. Not that we need to defend or protect ourselves or prepare to fight it. We already lost the fight. We need to figure out how to dissolve it now. That's the mentality we need to have, and we need to get up every morning and act that way. We need to act like oh, it's already here. And I need to wake up in resistance every day, in non-participation with that system that is evil. And until enough people do that, it's just going to get worse, because we're still playing this sort of ridiculous theatrical performance of self-deception and deception of the other, that it's still a battle, and anybody could win. No. The thing that we're talking about, deep state, totalitarian state, that war was already lost. That war was lost in, I would say it officially was lost in 2016, 17. When we lost the second meme war, the great meme war. When they robbed us of our ability to express love and comedy and criticism through sharing art, through the use of art. That's the greatest tool to dismantle tyrannies. The expression of love, comedy, and criticism through art. And they robbed us of that. They essentially made it illegal. Quite literally. If you went back 20 years and you looked at what was happening now, you would know for sure that we were in the totalitarian state. There'd be no question. You just have to ask 5 or 6 questions about what was happening now. You'd have to watch a few videos like, oh, wow, they're in the nightmare world. And they don't even realize it. Our perspectives are within the system, so it's harder for us to see. It's like tell a fish what air is. Tell a fish that it's in water. It's the same kind of idea. We are inundated. It is all pervasive. And so there needs to be this really powerful shift of perspective, which will come more quickly if you remember. You remember what life was like a decade ago, 2 decades ago. And then you can call upon the intrinsic real of the human experience that you know to be true, and you compare it to what this is. And then from that point, what do? Well, you can't make anyone else do anything. You can only do something for yourself. And that's when you have to push on the edges of whatever this place is and transcend. Do those meditations. Breathe deeply. Be with nature. Listen to its wisdom. None of this is right. None of this stuff is okay. We shouldn't even be okay with it. We shouldn't even be okay with it. We shouldn't even be tolerating it. And yet we do. En masse. We tolerate it. But then the people that really don't tolerate it and get on here and they talk about, they're punished severely, right? So I know the people out there that really don't put up with this shit and get fucking angry in the right ways. They're feeling more and more hopeless because nothing they do does anything. I get it. I know exactly how you feel. And, that's why I've decided to go through the final process, push to the edges and see what Buddha and Christ were talking about. And I think that's the It's the only option left. If there's something about this reality that can be transformed through a higher state of consciousness, that would be our only tool. We don't have the physical, financial power. We don't have drones and stealth aircraft and laser guns and bazookas. There's no way we could take on whatever this is physically. And not to mention, the people who don't want this aren't willing to risk other human lives to do it anyway. Because what would be the point then? If we just end up with a mutually assured destruction. And so we're left with one option, an option that's become an archaic whisper from the past of a thing that could be a transcendental object of a certain type of godhood within the individual who pursues the mysteries of reality and possibly transforms themselves into a worker of miracles. And this is all that's left. They don't let us organize. They don't let us protest in ways that are intelligent. They'll let us go and scream at each other with picket signs and fight with each other in the streets. Sure, well, that's what they want. That's what they want us to think protest is. They won't let us organize. They won't let us occupy Wall Street anymore. We can only Antifa. We don't have freedom of speech. And you saw how they backdoor that, because the government says we have free speech, but the government allows all these tech companies, which have become essentially a public good of communication, because they're a private entity, they can tell us what we can and cannot say. So they found a backdoor. Except, many of you know that many of these tech companies are owned and controlled by the government. And so see what I'm saying? The government's just created branding and pretended to be private, created these proxies to control communication and violate free speech. And because they have the loopholes and the bureaucratic bullshit, they can get away with it because it's a private company, so a private company can decide whatever. You'll see the government making a social media that'll give us free speech. It's because this is at least convenient to them, if not their making. So we've run out of options. All that is left is non-participation, resistance, and transformation of self. So it's time to pursue that. It's time to pursue the path of Buddha, the path of Christ, that narrow path of righteousness. It's time to face your fears and peer into the abyss, to lift the veil of Isis and see what this place is really about, and see if it will gift you with the powers needed to truly transform this place. There's no crazy ritual involved. You don't need tons of esoteric teachings. You don't need to be in a secret society. You need to sit and breathe and put your intent into that. You will be led to that place which you seek to go. Listen, it speaks. With real intent, with your heart in that prayer, I pray that the mysteries be revealed to me and my place in the universe restored. Or please give me the strength and power and will and wisdom to be a transformative element of a society led astray. Please, God, teach me how to lead the world back to harmony. Make it any prayer you want. Just make sure that you mean it. You say that prayer every day, and strange things will start happening in your life. You start breathing deeply, drinking more water, meditating, sitting in silence. The wisdom will come to you, I promise. God bless, peace and respect, good luck, and I bid you good fortune in the wars to come.